Draft Environmental Impact Assessment 2020. So I would be telling every topic the important points only, right? So we'll not be discussing this from the ground or from the scratch itself. So I'll give you an overall perspective about every topic and those things which are exclusively important for prelims, right? So we'll deal every topic in this way. So the first topic is Draft Environmental Impact Assessment 2020. So this environmental impact assessment, what is it? This is basically done to assess environmental impacts of a project, right? If the government or any other company is taking up any project, what effects does this have on the environment? What effect does it have on the air, on the rivers, on the water bodies, on the people living there? All these things are measured or estimated in this environmental impact assessment. Now the government is coming up with new regulations in this year for this environmental impact assessment. Now, which ministry does this environmental impact assessment? It is the MOEFCC, Ministry of Environmental, Forest and Climate Change. This is the ministry under which environmental impact assessment is done. That we have to know. And this environmental impact assessment is issued under which act? Environmental Protection Act 1986. Right? This also we have to know. Which act? Environmental Protection Act 1986. Under this act, the rules for environmental impact assessment, how that assessment should be done, the rules are given under this act, right? So this we have to know. And also previously, like now it has come up with the draft, but previously environmental impact assessment 2006 rules are being followed by the government as of now, right? 2006 rules. Now the government is coming up with new rules in the year 2020, right? So what for is this environmental impact assessment? For getting the environmental clearance for any project, right? For getting environmental clearance for any project. So some features in this environmental impact assessment. What are the new features which the government is bringing through this draft EIA 2020? The first one is it tries to clearly define polluted areas, what is a protected area, what is public consultation. So these terms which were not clearly defined before, this draft tries to clearly define them, right? So this is one thing. Second thing is categorization of projects. Not all projects require environmental impact assessment. This can be a straightaway bit. There can be an option saying all the projects implemented in India need environmental impact assessment. That is wrong, right? It might be misleading, but it is wrong. Not all projects require environmental impact assessment, but every project requires environmental clearance. There are some projects which need not be done this environmental impact assessment. Those are categorized as B2 projects. So projects are broadly divided as category A, category B1, category B2. Previously, projects were divided into category A and category B. That's it. But this new 2020 rules are dividing it into category A, category B1 and category B2. This category B2 does not require environmental impact assessment for the clearance, right? So this project B2, all the projects under this category B2, they don't require environmental impact assessment, right? This we have to know. Not all projects require environmental impact assessment. The third thing is public consultation. As a part of this environmental impact assessment, public consultation is there. That means projects have to go for public hearings. They have to take the opinion of the local people where they are setting up the project, right? This is there from before itself. However, this was made mandatory for category A and category B1 projects. This category A or category B1 projects, right? For this, public consultation is made mandatory. And other interesting thing in this draft 2020 rules is those projects that are exempted from environmental impact assessment, that list has increased. That means government is keeping more and more projects in the exempted list of environmental impact assessment. That means these projects need not go through environmental impact assessment, right? So some of those projects are irrigation related projects. These don't require EIA. Development related projects like inland waterways, those also don't require environmental impact assessment. National highways, even they don't require environmental impact assessment according to the new rules. Even those related to national security and strategic projects like nuclear power plants, etc., these also don't require environmental impact assessment under the new draft rules, right? This we have to know, right? Because this can be a prelims bit. So list has increased. More and more projects are being kept in the exempted list. That means they don't require environmental impact assessment. That list is increasing. And some of the projects we have discussed. And the other thing is time period for public consultation. As we have discussed, there will be public consultation. Time period has been decreased for this public consultation. Previously, 30 days was given for the people to come up with any petitions if a project is harming the environment or their livelihoods. But now this time period is reduced from 30 days to 20 days, right? This also we have to know. The time period has been reduced because options can be that in the new draft 2020 rules, the public consultation time period has been increased. Now this is a positive option, which we might think that mostly it's correct because the government will be doing good for the people, but such kind of misleading options can be there. Actually, the time period has been reduced for the public consultation from 30 to 20 days, right? This we have to know. And monitoring mechanism, that means for all the projects which got environmental clearance and environmental impact assessment was done and finished and they got the clearance, those companies also for every 6 months they have to submit a report saying that they are complying with the environmental rules, right? However, this mechanism was also relaxed. Now, not for every 6 months, but yearly once, if the companies do, that is fine, right? Monitoring mechanism, not for 6 months once, but yearly once the companies have to file the reports, right? This was also changed, right? Now, these are all some important things which can be played in the prelims bits, right? They can say the clearance is now made stringent by asking the companies to give their reports by 6 months, but no, it was relaxed that yearly once they can give. Public consultation time was reduced from 30 to 20 days. List of projects that are exempted from EIA have been increased. Inland waterways, national highways, these all were kept under those section where EIA is not required, right? So all these things we have to know. With respect to prelims, we have to analyze any issue in this way. Second topic is CDRI, Coalition for Disaster Resilient Infrastructure. Coalition for Disaster Resilient Infrastructure, right? So this initiative was taken by India. So that's why it's very important, right? This initiative is taken by Government of India, by the Prime Minister. This Coalition for Disaster Resilient Infrastructure. What is this? This is basically to develop climate resilient and disaster resilient infrastructure. Resilient means strong. Something which is strong to climate change. Something which is strong to disasters. Such kind of infrastructure, to develop such kind of infrastructure, this Coalition for Disaster Resilience Infrastructure was launched by our Prime Minister. So this is the objective of this coalition, and this is an Indian initiative. That's why we have to know. It's very important. And the third thing is, where was it launched? That is also important, because prelims bits can be CDRI, recently seen in news, was launched in UNFCCC platform. No, because any conventions usually we try to connect them to UNFCCC or the COP meetings, but this was launched in UN Climate Action Summit, right? UN Climate Action Summit 2019, that was held in USA, right? So this Coalition for Disaster Resilient Infrastructure, this coalition was launched by our Prime Minister in the UN Climate Action Summit 2019, right? Not UNFCCC conventions, or not in COP24 or COP25 summits, right? Not in this. In UN Climate Action Summit. This is one place where they can confuse us. And this is not a part of United Nations also, right? This is not a part of United Nations. This is outside the UN organization, because this is an initiative by India. Similar to this, last year also there was an initiative called International Solar Alliance. International Solar Alliance for increasing solar energy production, right? That was also an initiative of our India. These are some initiatives initiated by India. That's why we have to know them. So similar to International Solar Alliance, this CDRI, Coalition for Disaster Resilient Infrastructure, is also not a part of UN organizations, right? That we have to know. And this framework tries to integrate Sendai framework and Paris Climate Change Agreement. What is Sendai framework? Sendai framework is for disaster management. That we have to know. Sendai framework is for disaster management. Paris Climate Agreement is for climate change. Now what India is proposing is disaster management and climate change. These two efforts have to be integrated. That is the objective of this CDRI, Coalition for Disaster Resilient Infrastructure, right? Now for this, where is the headquarters? The headquarters is in New Delhi, right? So seeing by the name, we might think the headquarters is in some other place or in some other country. But this is in New Delhi itself. The headquarters for CDRI is in New Delhi, right? So they can confuse us by saying it's in Geneva, Switzerland, or in New York or some other place. But it's in New Delhi. That we have to know. And this makes India a global leadership role in climate change, right? By initiating such schemes, India is becoming a global leadership role in climate change. So who all are involved in this CDRI? Governments are involved, and not only governments, but private sector is also there. Private companies are also involved. Academicians are also involved, and also some UN agencies are also involved, right? All these are involved. And this is for constructing disaster resilient and climate resilient infrastructure. So these all things we have to know with respect to Coalition for Disaster Resilient Infrastructure, right? And the next topic is BEE Star Labeling Program. BEE, Bureau of Energy Efficiency, BEE. BEE Star Rating Program. So we might have seen star rating on some appliances like televisions, air conditioners, etc., right? So these star ratings on these appliances, 3-star, 4-star, these star ratings are basically for energy efficiency, right? Energy efficiency. Like if we are providing 1 unit of energy to that electrical appliance, how much output it is giving. That is called energy efficiency. If this star rating is more, that means if it has 4 or 4.5, that means its performance is good. Energy efficiency is more. Energy wastage is less. If the star rating is less, that means its energy performance is not up to the mark, right? So this is called star labeling. For various appliances, we do this star labeling. Which organization does this star labeling? It is BEE, Bureau of Energy Efficiency, right? This is the agency which gives a star rating to all the appliances like TVs, ACs, etc. So this works under Ministry of Power, right? That we have to know. This works under Ministry of Power, and this star labeling program is done under Energy Conservation Act 2001, right? This also we have to know. So implemented by BEE under the Ministry of Power, under the Act, Energy Conservation Act 2001. And what is the star labeling? For the appliances which depend on energy, right? ACs, TVs, etc. And star rating is done from 1 to 5. And this is for climate change efforts. So that's why it's important. And this star rating is not mandatory for all the appliances. This is mandatory only for some appliances. For some appliances, it is voluntary. That means those appliances can have star labeling or cannot have star labeling also. It's up to them. But some appliances like geysers, air conditioners, televisions, these for mandatorily they require this star labeling, right? So what are mandatory, what are voluntary? You just check it in the internet. You will be getting it. So this also we have to know, because they might give 4 appliances and say which of the following are under the star labeling program, right? We have to know it. So these are some ways how we have to analyze this BEE star labeling program, right? The next topic is BS6 norms, Bharat Stage 6 norms. You might have seen this topic also in the news. So this is related to emissions, vehicular emissions. So India is transitioning from BS4 to BS6, right? BS5 is jumped. India did not adopt BS5 norms for vehicular emissions. This we have to know, right? Because this also can be an option. They might say India transitioned from BS5 to BS6 in 2020. That's a wrong statement, because we transitioned from BS4 to BS6 by jumping BS5. This point we have to know, right? They can confuse us here. And the deadline fixed was April 1st, 2020, right? This was the deadline after which BS4 vehicles should not be produced or should not be sold, right? They should not, BS4 vehicles should not be produced, should not be sold, or should not be registered, right? Here also there is a catch, because after April 1, 2020, government is stopping only the production, sales and registration of BS4 vehicles, but not the usage of BS4 vehicles. Those vehicles which were bought before April 1st, 2020, they continue to be used. So if there is an option saying that BS6 norms, under this, if there is an option saying after April 1st, 2020, the government has banned the usage of BS4 vehicles, that is wrong. The government only banned production, sales and registration of BS4 vehicles. This we have to know. And recently, because of the corona crisis, Supreme Court gave relaxation for the companies and extended this deadline. That means not by April 1st, but it extended this deadline so that some of the BS4 vehicles which were left out, they can be sold away. Supreme Court recently gave a relaxation for this. That also we have to know. And this BS, what is this? This is Bharat Stage norms. This is for vehicular emissions. This is done in according with European norms, right? There are already norms called European norms, which are set by the European countries for the vehicular emissions. That means for the emissions coming from the vehicles, they have set a standard. According to that, we adopt our standards, right? This is called Bharat Stage norms, BS norms. So now we are trying to go for BS6 norms, right? This we have to know. And now which organization will be monitoring this? It is the CPCB, Central Pollution Control Board. This is the body that will be setting these norms. How much should be the NOx emissions? How much should be the sulfur dioxide emissions? How much should be the particulate matter? All this will be decided by this CPCB, Central Pollution Control Board, under the Ministry of Environment, Forests and Climate Change, right? This we have to know. And coming to the cost of the fuel, which would be costlier? Obviously, emissions are being reduced. That means more refining of the fuel has to be done. And also engines of the vehicles also have to be modified. So BS6 fuel is costlier than BS4 fuel. This also we have to know, right? BS6, Bharat Stage 6 norms fuel is costlier than BS4 fuel, right? And this BS6 norms were first adopted where? In the NCR region, the National Capital Region, this BS6 norms were first adopted in India, right? This also we have to be thorough. Now coming to the BS6 norms, how is this different from BS4 norms, right? Because there can be options asking or comparing BS6 and BS4. Compared to BS4, what is the NOx emissions which are reduced in BS6? These are all trends we have to know. So simply saying, coming to the nitrogen oxides emissions, that is NOx emissions, compared to BS4 fuel, in BS6 fuel, 70% reduction is there, right? 70% reduction is there in BS6 fuel compared to BS4 fuel, right? For diesel, right? So there are two fuels which are widely used in India, diesel and petrol. Now we'll first discuss with respect to diesel. So diesel compared to BS4, in BS6, nitrogen dioxide emissions are reduced by 70%. This is the first thing we have to know. Second thing is, with respect to petrol, the nitrogen dioxide emissions compared to BS4 in BS6 are reduced to 25%. This is the second thing we have to know, right? Coming to sulfur content in the fuel. Previously, under the BS4 norms, under the BS4 rules, the sulfur content was 50 ppm, right? The sulfur content was 50 ppm, but now under this BS6 norms, the sulfur content is reduced to 10 ppm. 10 ppm. This also we have to know, right? And the third thing is particulate matter. Particulate matter was reduced to 80% in the new BS6 fuel, right? Particulate matter is reduced to 80%. So overall, if we see, all the things are reduced in the BS6 fuel, right? But up to what? So sulfur content 50 ppm to 10 ppm. This is one important thing which we have to remember, because they might confuse. Sulfur content was reduced from 100 ppm to 50 ppm, but that's wrong. It was reduced from 50 ppm to 10 ppm, right? So these trends we have to know, and some additions to BS4. What are some new things that are brought under this BS6 norms? First thing is diesel particulate filters. These have to be there in the BS6 vehicles, right? So diesel particulate filters have to be there. Selective catalytic reduction techniques have to be used. So these are nothing but some techniques that are being used to reduce the vehicular emissions, right? Diesel particulate filter, that means it will filter out the particulate matter. And also similarly, selective catalytic reduction, that technique is also used. And real driving emissions, that means rather than testing the emissions in a laboratory environment, testing the emissions of the vehicle in a real time. That means as the vehicle is being used, in the same time, real-time monitoring will be done of the emissions. That is called real driving emissions. This is also being adopted in the BS6 norms. And also on-board diagnostics. On-board diagnostics, that means the status of different parts of our vehicle also have to be displayed. That is called on-board diagnostics, right? All these are there in BS6. So NOx emissions, diesel 70% reduced, petrol 25% reduced, sulfur content from 50 ppm to 10 ppm, diesel particulate filter, selective catalytic reduction, RDE, real driving emission, on-board diagnostics. All these are related to BS6, right? Because there can be a question saying selective catalytic reduction and diesel particulate filters recently seen in news, related to, and 4 options can be given, right? So we must be knowing these terms. If not in so much detail, at least we have to know that these are related to BS6, right? So this is about BS6 topic, BS6 norms. Now the last topic for environment is living entity status. Living entity status. Now this living entity status is given for rivers, lakes, right? Forests. Why is it given? So they are also living, but by giving living status to these rivers or lakes, the courts are trying to give rights to these water bodies, right? So after giving living status to these lakes or rivers, they will be getting the rights of a legal person, right? Just like how we have human rights and individual rights, in the similar way, the lake or the water body like river will be getting legal person status. It will be getting some legal rights as soon as it is given a living entity status, right? Previously, Ganga and Yamuna river were given this living entity status, but recently, Sukhna Lake in Chandigarh, right? In Chandigarh, there is a lake called Sukhna Lake. This lake was given living entity status by the Punjab High Court recently, right? So we have to know this because Sukna Lake is in news because it's giving living entity status. But the question might be saying, in the match the following, they can give Sukna Lake and they can give Maharashtra. But we have to know that it is in Chandigarh, right? So in this way, all the lakes, rivers which are in news, where they are located, why they are in the news, these all we have to know, right? So this lake is in Chandigarh and the legal status was given by Punjab High Court. And this Sukna Lake is a man-made lake. It's not a natural lake, right? It's a man-made lake in 1958. So even for man-made lakes also living status are being given. That we have to know, right? And why is this living status given? As we have discussed, these will be getting rights. That means we will be in a better position to protect and preserve these water bodies, right? If they are given living entity status, we can preserve, conserve and protect them in a better way. That's why this status is given. And also the High Court of Punjab also said all the citizens of Chandigarh are loco parentis for this lake, right? All the citizens of Chandigarh are loco parentis for this lake. That means loco parentis means all the people of Chandigarh are the caretakers. They are like parents for this lake, right? If this lake, this Sukna lake is getting polluted, any citizen can go to the court and file a case, right? That is the benefit we will get if we give living entity status, right? So this is with respect to prelims, all the environment topics, how we have to analyze, right? So these are 5 topics we discussed today. We will be discussing few tomorrow also. So now coming to the governance. Now this environment and governance, these are 2 areas from where questions are increasing. Especially with respect to environment, questions are increasing in prelims. And this is one such area where if we focus a bit, definitely we can easily get the marks, right? So environment, please don't neglect and try to cover as much as possible. So coming to the governance, we will discuss 5 schemes which are in current affairs, right? First scheme is Tech for Tribals program, right? Tech, TECH, Tech for Tribals program. This is the first scheme. Now what is this Tech for Tribals program? This is a tribal entrepreneurship program, right? Tribal entrepreneurship. That means under this program, entrepreneurship, how to start a new company, how to innovate, all these skills, entrepreneurship skills are being given to the tribal people under this scheme. That is broadly about this scheme. Now, whose initiative is this? It is the initiative of TriFed. There is an organization called TriFed, TRIFED, Tribal Cooperative Marketing Development Federation of India, TriFed, Tribal Cooperative Marketing Development Federation of India. Almost all the tribal related schemes, this TriFed will be the implementing agency, right? That's one way how we can remember it. So even this Tech for Tribals program also, this is the initiative of TriFed organization under the Ministry of Tribal Affairs, right? These 2 things we have to know. It's an initiative of TriFed under the Ministry of Tribal Affairs, right? And similarly, there is another scheme for tribals called Pradhan Mantri Van Dhan Yojana. I have discussed this in my previous videos also. This is also for empowerment of tribals, right? How do tribals live? What is their livelihood? By gathering minor forest produce from the forest. Minor forest produce means all those products which the tribals can get from the forest, right? They'll collect them, they will consume them and they will sell them. That's how they earn their livelihoods. Now, how effectively they can sell this forest produce? What are the marketing skills that are required? How can value addition be done to this minor forest produce? All these things are involved in this PM Van Dhan Yojana, right? This is also related to tribals. So Tech for Tribals program and Pradhan Mantri Van Dhan Yojana. These 2 important schemes related to tribals, tribal entrepreneurship and value addition and improving marketing for minor forest produce. Which is the implementing ministry? Tribal Affairs Ministry. Which is the organization that implements? TriFed, right? So in this way, we have to try to analyze a government scheme. What is the ministry? what is the agency, what does it do, some important numbers in the scheme, that's it, right? So this is the first scheme. Second scheme is a scheme which is in news so much that it is very important for us, that is PM Garib Kalyan Yojana. During this corona pandemic, during the lockdown period, a scheme was released by our government, launched by our government, called PM Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Yojana, right? So who launched this? Finance Ministry announced this scheme during the lockdown period. And this is a scheme which gives 1.7 lakh crore package for the poor people, right? 1.7 lakh crore package for the poor people. This Garib Kalyan Yojana. Under this Garib Kalyan Yojana, different components are there, right? This is like a package which does so many things. So all those components, we have to at least know them roughly so that we can eliminate them in the options. So 4 to 5 important components in this Garib Kalyan Yojana scheme is, first one is insurance scheme for all the health workers fighting this COVID pandemic, right? All the health workers in the central government hospitals, in the state government hospitals, and even in the primary healthcare centers, all these health workers are getting insurance scheme, right, under this Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Yojana. That is the first component. Second important component is Garib Kalyan Anna Yojana. Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Anna Yojana. This is the second component. Now, what is this Anna Yojana? As the name suggests, this is about giving food to the people, right? For all those ration card holders, right? All those ration card holders, all the people who have these ration cards, around 80 crore people are there. For all these people, government is giving extra ration of 5 kg of rice and 1 kg of pulses, right? This 5 kg of rice and 1 kg of pulses, no issue if you can't remember that. But what we have to focus here is, this scheme is only for ration card holders. That is important. Not for all the poor people. Only for ration card holders. Only for the ration card holders, some extra ration is being given, right? This is the thing which we have to know. And third component is PM Kisan cash transfers. There is a scheme called PM Kisan. Now, under that PM Kisan, 2,000 rupees is being given to 8.7 crore farmers, right? That is also a component under this PM Garib Kalyan Yojana, right? PM Kisan, 2,000 rupee cash transfer to 8.7 crore families, right? And next, there are many cash transfers that are done under this Garib Kalyan Yojana, right? Those cash transfers we have to know. Apart from this PM Kisan cash transfers, coming to the Mandraka scheme, for the Mandraka scheme, that is Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act scheme, for this scheme, under this Garib Kalyan Yojana, wages were increased. Wages were increased from 182 to 202 rupees, right? And also, additionally, for the Mandraka workers, they are giving 2,000 rupees additionally, right? So this is one cash transfer in Mandraka, and also another cash transfer for free gas cylinders. Free gas cylinders for under the Ujjwala Yojana. There is a scheme called Pradhan Mantri Ujjwala Yojana. This is for LPG gas connections. You might have read about it. Even for those Ujjwala Yojana beneficiaries, free gas cylinders are being given under this Garib Kalyan Yojana, right? That is the second thing. Third thing is Jan Dhan accounts. You might have studied about Jan Dhan accounts. For all the Jan Dhan accounts, they are giving 500 rupees per month, right? For all the women Jan Dhan accounts, they are giving 500 rupees per month. This is also one cash transfer which the government is doing to help the people during the corona time. And the fourth cash transfer is 1,000 rupees per month ex gratia for senior citizens, widows, etc. Right? For these people also, who are vulnerable during the corona time, for them also 1000 rupees ex gratia is being given, right? And also apart from all these, even for the self-help groups, for the SHGs, collateral free loans are being given. Collateral free loans means the banks don't ask for any surety for these loans, right? Collateral free loans are being given. Previously also they used to give, but now the limit has increased. Previously only up to 10 lakhs collateral free loans used to be given, but now up to 20 lakhs collateral free loans are being given to self-help groups, right? This is also a component. And the other component is PF contribution. We know provident fund money will be cut from the employee's salary every month. So government told that it will bear this PF cuts, right? In this way, it is reducing the burden on the employees, right? This is also being done. The provident fund contributions for all the companies which employ less than 100 employees, for those companies also, the government is taking this PF burden, right? These are some components under the PM Garib Kalyan Yojana, right? Finance Ministry announced it, 1.7 lakh crore package for the poor. First one is insurance scheme for health workers, not only in central government hospitals, but even in state government hospitals and also for the primary healthcare centers. Second component is Garib Kalyan Anna Yojana, only for the ration card holders, right? That is important. Third one is PM Kisan cash transfers, 2000 rupees for 8.7 crore farmers. And then Mandraka wages have been increased, 2000 additional rupees are being given. Free gas cylinders are being given under Pradhan Mantri Ujjwala Yojana. 500 rupees per month to Jandhan accounts, 1000 rupees per month to senior citizens and vulnerable people. And also provident fund burden is being taken by the government, and 20 lakhs, up to 20 lakhs collateral free loans to the self-help groups. All these are different components under this Garib Kalyan Yojana, right? If we are unable to remember each and every component in detail, at least we have to know broadly that these components are under this scheme, right? Because there can be a question that under PM Garib Kalyan Yojana, 4 options can be given and can be asked which of these 4 are correct, 1, 2, 3 or all of the above, like that. So those 3 to 4 options can be these 3 to 4 components of the Garib Kalyan Yojana, right? Why can't they ask such a question? So we have to know what components are there at least in this scheme, if not in greater detail, right? So this is thing. The third scheme is, or the third topic is PM Cares Fund. This was also in news, right? PM Cares Fund. So what was this PM Cares Fund? This fund was set up by our Prime Minister. For what? For fighting this COVID outbreak, right? For fighting this COVID outbreak, our Prime Minister has launched this PM Cares Fund, right? So some important things we have to know about this PM Cares Fund is, first thing, it has no statutory backing. That means this fund is not created under any act, right? There are high chances, options can be that PM Cares Fund is set up under Disaster Management Act. So this option might be very convincing for us. But in the reality, this PM Cares Fund does not have any statutory backing, right? It does not have any legal act basis. It is created by Prime Minister of India, right? That is the first thing. No statutory backing, and it is formed in the 2020 for COVID outbreak, right? This also we have to know, because the option can be this fund was created in the 2015 year for biological disasters. That's wrong. This was created in 2020, this year itself, for fighting corona, right? This is the second thing we have to know. Third thing, know what amounts are there in this PM Cares. Does it have any budgetary support? No. Not even a single rupee from the budget is there in this PM Cares Fund, right? The entire money in this PM Cares Fund is voluntary contribution from individuals and companies. That we have to know. No budgetary funds or no budgetary approved sanctions or funds are there in this PM Cares Fund? That we have to know, right? So if there is an option saying PM Cares Fund gets its source from Consolidated Fund of India, that is wrong, right? So this has only voluntary contributions from individuals and corporates, right? This is the third thing we have to know. And contributions into this PM Cares Fund are a part of CSR also. What is CSR? Corporate Social Responsibility. Under this corporate social responsibility, every company in our country has an obligation to keep some funds, allocate some funds for social activities, right? So now if any company gives money to this PM Cares Fund, that is counted under the corporate social responsibility, right? That is also there. And this is exempted from IT returns, income tax returns. Income Tax Act, this PM Cares Fund is completely exempted from IT Act, right? 100% exemption from IT Act is there for this PM Cares Fund. That point also we have to know. And also, who is the chairman for this fund? It is the Prime Minister itself, right? Now, Prime Minister is the ex officio chairman for this PM Cares Fund, and there are other trustees also. Who are the trustees? There are 3 other ministers who are trustees for this PM Cares Fund: Ministry of Defense, Ministry of Home Affairs, and Ministry of Finance, right? Ministry of Defense, Ministry of Home Affairs, and Ministry of Finance. All these 3 are also trustees for this fund. And also this PM Cares Fund is exempted from FCRA, Foreign Contributions Regulation Act. There is an act which regulates foreign contributions, foreign donations into the NGOs or civil societies. If any foreign donations are coming, that are under the regulation of Home Affairs Ministry, right? Because they can be used for various illegal activities also. For that reason, there is an act called FCRA. But this fund is exempted even from FCRA, right? So these are some things which we have to know, right? It is formed in 2020 for fighting COVID outbreak. No statutory backing, no legal basis, no legal act is there. Only voluntary contributions, no budgetary approved funds, and it is exempted 100% from IT Act and also from FCRA Act. Prime Minister is the chairman, and Ministry of Defense, Home Affairs, and Finance are the trustees, right? So with respect to prelims, PM Cares Fund, these are the points we have to know for sure.